In this video help, we're going to be discovering location and other location popovers and what they're used for. Let's take a look at the actual area over on this side to explain what's going on with the client location. Client location uses the fields that you add in here for the client information to generate a map. In this case, the map is, if you click on it, the map is MapQuest. And what it's going to do, it's going to bring up the address information if it's complete, right down to the street and location where this particular person or business resides. Okay, now for other location, the same thing is similar, but in this one, what you do is you can use your own input for starting a search or destination, and then what that does is it allows you to take, for example, maybe the company that is related to this particular client's records. I'm just going to take that out of there. So you can go in and you can put that data in. It'll generate either directions or it can go right down to the location. Now how is this stuff usable in your business? In your business, demographics are important to the clients you're using and the kind of materials and products and or rental items that they're actually buying or using from or renting from your company. Depending upon the location, the demographics could include mountainous areas or deserts and or forested areas, which would kind of assist you in understanding the demographics of what people and what kind of people live in your area and what kind of products they need in order to do whatever they do for their company or the individuals. For example, let's take for example in forested country, maybe chainsaws are required more than they would be in a desert area. So for example, there is some mountainous areas in Arizona and also in New Mexico, but there's a lot of desert area as well, or high desert. So those kinds of things can affect what you have in inventory for your equipment. If you're living in some place like Oklahoma where you've got flatlands, Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas, and Texas, it may be an entirely different thing. Maybe something like a forklift would be important, or maybe even carry-alls, trailers, and trucks or whatever in those areas. This is important to you, especially if you're looking for businesses within your area when you zoom in to see what kind of business you want to solicit for your rental items and products. So this is in there, and you can go ahead and use this information and go into, for example, user-defined fields and add specific things for that particular client that may be important to that client. For example, in a UDF, maybe you could put a field in there for title for equipment or equipment required and put chainsaw, for example, or flatbed truck or whatever like that, the kind of things that that particular client would be interested in using. That way you can look at the different kind of clients you have based on UDFs and identify things that you might want to contact them about. For example, if you're doing media or doing emails or something along that line for sales, that you can tell by looking at your demographics what kind of people and what kind of equipment you need to stock and run specials or whatever you want to do for that area. Okay, with that being said, remember now you got to, in the other locations, is different from the client locations because these are based on the actual location of the address within the application, this being said over here. Now in this particular case I just made up Front Street, so it's probably not finding it unless there's actually a Front Street with an address of 100, but you obviously would put the actual person in there and the business location. Now the business location you can copy and paste into your other locations and put in there the different addresses and so forth. You can also put information as far as the different locations. Say this business has, you live in Salt Lake City and you want to have all the locations where this particular business has locations in Salt City. So, and then also the same thing in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a big area and maybe one business has 5 or 6 locations. That can go in the comments area or in the UDFs. So you can see why the UDFs are important. But then again, you have the ability to do demographic searches and set up your individuals with UDF items that are important to your advertising. Okay, with that being said, you might think of other things that are important as far as that's concerned. Let's look at something called supporting data. Supporting data is, in this particular case, I have it filled in. This allows you to query different websites and copy information from those websites. Say, for example, you're looking at, again, demographics and businesses, where you may want to pull in information that are in those URLs and then look at the items and take notes. And then, as you'll see here, this actually scrolls. You can have many different views. Say, for example, you might have a picture of the web page, for example, or maybe you might want to have the pictures of some of the employees from that particular company that we're looking at here. In addition, you can go over here and slide this, and you can change the fields and put different notes on in this side. Now, say, for example, I put a URL in here and I want to be able to link to it. I'd put the URL in the field, and I can copy that from the URL in the web page, and then I could say insert the URL, and it's going to insert whatever it is in this screen, or I can go to that URL by clicking here, and it'll take me to that website. That'll be within a browser. But there's also other data that's kind of important. Say, for example, there is a paperwork item or something that you need to have, or a contract, and you can put the contract by taking the image itself and copying it or inserting it in from a file in the database, and that could be related to something that's important about this particular client and something that you've put in there. For example, it might be something where you have a contract and you want a copy of it available to you. You can also export the field contents, or you can actually insert a file and view the file as a PDF. So those are some important things that you can do. And this is useful in how would this be useful to you? For example, anything that's important where you need to have specific data on hand so that you can look it up for that particular client and have it available to you, where you can scroll through and look at either the images or into the files, or link to or insert directly from a URL. Now, there may be something on a person's website that is more important about the demographics, so you want to take that and put it in here so you can have it for later to understand better what this particular client is about. Or you might just take the website itself and put something from the website in that is important to you as far as what you're doing with this client. Say, for example, maybe they're a construction company and they do certain types of construction. Maybe they do streets, or another one does housing, or another one does apartments, or whatever. You can have even some of their sites in here if you wanted to, as far as what they build and do, or from their website, different things that they provide to their clients. So you can look at them and see if they're important to you as far as soliciting to them for business, as far as whatever you're putting out as rentals. So this acts as a database within a database, and it allows you to put important information that's related to this particular client. Now, there's a handsome guy there. That's probably the guy that built this application. Has 40 years of experience in database design and working with clients to do important projects, and he must have at least 165 different applications, approaches that he can use in order to support your business and add more viability to your company or the individual themselves for personal productivity. So that covers the client locations, a little bit about UDFs, and supporting data. Now, what we're going to be doing in the next video, we're going to be looking at the individual items that we did not cover, for example, expenses, employees, and so forth. Things that are important, but we haven't touched on so much. So we're going to be covering those in the next video help. Thank you.